Excellent. Thank you, William. Appreciate you reading that for us. My sermon title today is Ready, Set, Rebuild the Walls. And I thank Corey for mentioning that it was Peter's birthday today, because in honor of that, we're going to talk about the Seattle Seahawks a little bit today. So, all right. So to start out with, I have a few questions for you, and there will be some questions throughout the sermon, so don't space off too much. My first one here is, how many people here actually like football? Raise your hand if you actually like football. Okay, all right, okay. So now that we have that down, how many people like the Seahawks? Okay, wow, we have, all right, that's a pretty good percentage of the people that like football. Okay, good. All right, now we're going to test your knowledge of the Seahawks players a little bit. First of all, how many players are on the active roster? Can anyone tell me that? 52. That's our first guess. 56. Nope. 53. We have Howard in the back. All right, 53 is the amount. So I'm gonna give you a chance to think for a second. How many players of those 53 do you think you can name? I'm not going to ask you to name all the ones that you think you can name. How many? So I want you to think. I'm going to give you a few seconds here. Think how many players on the team you think you can name. My wife says 2. Okay. My mother-in-law says 3. Okay. Okay. All right. So raise your hand if you think you can think of more than 10 players on the Seahawks. Cameron says yes. Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to say a couple Seahawks, and you tell me what positions they play. Okay. All right. So Russell Wilson. All right. Stephen Hauschka. All right. Doug Baldwin. Okay. Good. Yeah. See right there. All right. Good job. Good job. All right, Jimmy Graham. Oh, Richard Sherman. Okay. Now here's some other names that I'm gonna throw out there for you. And tell me if you know who they are or what position they play. Justin Hamilton. Chenille Jenkins. Kenny Lawler, Marcus Lucas, Robert Myers, Cache Palacio, Will Parasak, Kelvin Taylor. They are on the Seahawks. No, I'm not just making up names. There's actually 2 more, but I won't read them. These are the guys who are not on the active man roster. They're on the roster called the practice squad. Okay, and these are the guys who the team has decided that they will take a little chance on these guys. They'll put them on the practice squad, and there's 10 of them. And so these are guys who are rookies up through, you can have 4 years of NFL experience and be on the practice squad. There's more rules, but that's really not part of my sermon, so we're not going to go through those 4 pages of rules. But these guys are basically, they're developmental players. Plus, they're also going to be practice fodder, if you will. Okay? So, now, any idea what the NFL minimum is for a rookie? What they make a year? Any guesses? Higher. Yeah, it's $435. Okay, so that means you're making about $27,000 a game, and so that's that bare minimum that someone who's on the active roster is going to get. So for that game, you're going to get a game check of $27,000. Okay, the practice squad players, they make, the minimum they can make is $7,000 a week. So they're going to come and they're going to bust their butts in practice for a whole week. You know, some days are worse than others. And they're going to get $7,000 for their trouble. Okay? But their hope is to what? Make it on a team. Make the bigger dollars. Okay? So, what do they need to do to get ready? I got a couple props. The first thing they're going to do is they're going to need to know their playbook. Okay? And it's going to look something like this, except probably thicker, because they probably have all laminated pages. Okay? And so they're not only going to need to know the Seahawks playbook, but they're going to have to know the plays that they're supposed to run for the other team so the Seahawks can practice against it. They're going to need to know all those plays during the week. So they're going to need to know this. They're going to need to watch film so they know tendencies of the other players. So they'll need to do that. They'll also need to be physically ready. So they're expecting that, let's say I walk into camp as a running back who weighs 265 pounds, and I run a 4.940. They're hoping that I'm going to lose some weight, and I'm going to pick up a little speed, and so I'm going to get better. That's what they're hoping from all these guys on the practice squad. So they're going to get better, so that way maybe they can join later in the season, depending on depth, or in the future. And the last thing that they need to do to get ready is they're going to need to eat, put proper fuel in their body. Some players have more issues with the fuel than others, depending on what that fuel might be. Okay, let's think about what their foes are. Can anybody tell me who is each of these practice squad players, who is their opponent? People on the team. Exactly. The guy next to him. The other guys on the practice squad. They're all competing. They want to be on that roster. Okay? This is part of their motivation, is they know they got to be better than everybody on the practice squad and better than somebody on that team. So, do you think that there's a day off for those guys? Absolutely not. They actually have to be ready to practice probably twice as ready as the players. So you're going to see them lay it on the line, right? And all this is in reality for money and to be, say, I played in the NFL, right? That's really what's on the line. There's a personal pride. It's mostly what it is. Okay, awesome. Now we're going to move on and talk about our story from Nehemiah today. And so now I'm going to ask a few more questions. So how many people here like to travel? How many of you like to travel to countries who have danger? As in, you might not live after you go when you go to that country, okay? Oh, we have a couple, okay. All right. How about, do you like to do construction in a country where it's dangerous to live? All right, excellent. All right. Now, how many people like reading Bible stories? Awesome. Good. Now we named some Seahawks. Now, this might actually almost be tougher. Who can name other names of people from the story of Nehemiah? There's at least one easy one, besides Nehemiah. Ezra. Exactly. Can anybody else come up with any other names? And we can, what's that? Sanballat. Good. Cyrus. Okay. Dorcas? No. There might be a name close to that. There are lots of names in those books. Yep. Okay, good. Nicely done. Okay. So the other main person who is against Nehemiah is Tobiah. And that's one of the other names. And of course, you could also talk about Esther. Esther's the queen in the story throughout Ezra and Nehemiah. Okay. So what are they doing in this story? They're rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. Yep, exactly. And they are trying to do so under not good conditions, right? They're coming back. They were in Persia, taken away, and now they've come back. Jerusalem's in rubble, and they're trying to rebuild this wall. They've also got the people who are indigenous to the land, the people who stayed, who were there, and they're threatening them that we're going to come because we don't want you to rebuild Jerusalem. We don't want that. We want to be able to mess with you guys as much as we want to, and we might just come and kill you all. That'd be fine. And that's what Sanballat and Tobiah are threatening. And so what is their motivation to build this wall?
Identity.
Protection, identity. Okay. Anything else?
The symbolism of that wall.
Exactly. They become relevant again, don't they? They are. There's a sense of pride, a sense of patriotism, because when that wall is built and they're together again, they are the nation again. Kind of, at least somewhat, instead of just a group of refugees hanging out in a city of rubble. Okay. So I want you to imagine these guys. They're working. They've rebuilt their houses already, and by this point, by Nehemiah's time, they've rebuilt the temple. Okay, at least somewhat. And so now Nehemiah has it on his heart to go and help the Jews and help them rebuild the walls, because he's gone. He made a trip. He went in by night and he said, "What's this really look like?" Because he didn't want to go and have someone tell him, "Oh yeah, we're doing a great job. We're going to get it done." He actually went in to find out what the conditions were really like, what it really looked like. So he has talked to the king. The king has given him his support, given him letters to get through all the proper bureaucracy, and has also gotten him timber from the king's forests. And so he's ready. And now he has to get the people together. And those are the verses that William read for me. And so I want you to think about construction. So has everybody here, or at least done some sort of constructing of some sort? Raise your hand. I mean, manual labor. Everybody's done it, right? Okay. If you haven't, let me know. I'm sure we can hook you up with somebody to help you with that. Okay. So I want you to think about manual labor. So you're moving bricks, stone. All right. And so in case that's not hard enough, got my spear here. Now, this is the non-lethal version on purpose. But so, add this, so you've got this and or a sword, hanging off of you. So some people have a spear and some people have a sword. So, and you're building with bricks or rock, stones, and so, in case it's not hard enough to move bricks with with two hands, or one hand, two hands is not good. And remember, you're wearing sandals, so don't drop them. So you can imagine trying to get work done when you're trying to protect yourself and be brave and all that. And so it's even more impressive that as Ezra takes half of the men and backs them up and says, "This is going to be your protection. We're ready in case they come to fight us." They get the wall done in 52 days. That's impressive. Now, I didn't bring my diagram of the wall, but it's big. And it's going all the way around about half of what was the city at that point, because they made some shortcuts. Instead of making it all the way around like this, they actually made it kind of like this at this point. And so they didn't do everything that they did later. But 52 days, manual labor, that's a lot of work. Plus clearing away all the rubble that was there from the prior wall. It's impressive. So they had to be ready and protect themselves, ready to build the wall, and ready to believe that God would protect them, right? They needed God to protect them. All right. So I want to move on to us in our lives, and what we face. We are the participants in the rebuilding of our own walls, our own lives, back to what God wanted us to be like. He wants us to be in heaven what he originally wanted us to be, right? He doesn't want us to be the broken down thing that we are now. So we need to believe that God can rebuild us, that God can remake us here on this earth. And we need him to equip us so that we can be participants in the conflict that's happening here on earth. So we have the Israelites arming themselves. God will arm us, right? Put on the armor of God. Ephesians 6:11. Let's look at that. We'll just read the first verse. That's Ephesians 6:11. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. So there, God will equip us. And if we read down through the rest of those verses, it tells us exactly what God will give us to equip ourselves. But it also says who we are facing. We are facing the devil, which is just like what the Israelites were facing. They were facing Sanballat, Tobiah, and Satan, not wanting them to get back together, right? And Satan's not wanting us to believe in God, to stay with him, and to come to him and have him rebuild our lives. So our to-do list, which we all know, we all hear it all the time, is to number one, have a relationship with him. And we have the Bible, which is our playbook, right? And then to share our rebuilding experiences and share with others how God can rebuild their lives. So we really can ready, set, get ready to rebuild. And in conclusion, I want to read Nehemiah 4:19 and 20. Nehemiah 4:19 and 20. Then I said to the nobles, the rulers, and the rest of the people, the work is great, and it's extensive, and we are separated far from one another on the wall. Wherever you hear the sound of the trumpet, rally to us there. Our God will fight for us. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Dear Lord, we want to thank you for being willing to rebuild us in your image. We ask that we would strive for that this week and every day for the rest of our lives. We ask that we would also share that with those around us. We ask that you would be with our congregation today. In thy name, amen.